are talking about meaning of research. It's a search for knowledge, or basically research is search for knowledge in a scientific and systematic way. So you have to use scientific method, scientific can say logic and systematic methods or systematic way you have to follow to search for knowledge. So this is basically a simple definition. Search for knowledge in a scientific and systematic way. Or it can be basically a research is a systematic investigation of material and source in order to establish fact and reach to a new conclusion. So it is systematic investigation of material and sources in order to can say find facts or to come to can say to know the fact to reach to a new conclusion. So new conclusion पे आपको आना होता है, and for this new conclusion you should have some observations with you, some result with you, and that results will be obtained systematically by following certain methods, tools, techniques, observations, what are skills that you have to follow. So that should be in a systematic way. So that's why research is a systematic investigation of material or sources, or material and sources in order to establish facts and reach to a new conclusion. So that's the research. Okay. Now, another definition is what? Research is simply a systematic and refined technique of thinking, employing specialized tools, instruments, and procedures in order to obtain more adequate solution to a problem. If you have any problem, or can say anything that you want to can say no, so any problem, any can say trouble or anything in the society that you want to solve or you want to give solution. So that should be a systematic technique or can say refined technique you have to follow. And you should use, you can say, a probable ideal thinking process, employing specialized tool or instruments or procedures in order to obtain a more adequate solution to a problem. अगर आपको problem को solution देना है, so you need to follow can say known procedures, known methodologies, can say specialized tools, or sometimes can say you have to go for critical thinking. You have to think out of the box. You have to use different instruments, and then it should be validated, reliable instruments, and you can come to a logical conclusion so as to give a solution. So in can say research, there are two different types: basic research and applied research. In basic research, generally we are developing ideas, we are developing theories. So specifically in social sciences, specifically in literature, or maybe can say in languages, people are interested in basic research, generalized research. So where theories are developed. In science, in commerce, management, in marketing, everywhere people are can say working based on hypothesis. They want to find out solution for can say real time can say problem or can say any problem, and where that solution is applicable in the society. So that's advanced or can say applied research. And that's why it's simply a systematic and refined technique of thinking, employing specialized tool, instruments, and procedure in order to obtain a more adequate solution to the problem. Sometimes solutions are there, but we can refine it and make it more and more can say suitable to address the problem. Okay. Now we'll go one by one for the characteristic of research. First characteristics is research direct towards solution. Research directs towards solution. Means what? The research should be can say focused on priority problem. Whatever problems are there, you have to identify the problem based on review. You have to make a review. आपको क्या करना होता है? You have to make a review. Review करना है. आपको gaps identify करना है और वो gaps पे काम करना है. And then you have to identify it and make a can say design on that, and then you have to start your research. So basically this is one of the can say first and most important characteristic of research. Research directs towards solution. Any research, कोई भी research होगा, ये कहा जाएगा solution के base, solution के ऊपर जाना है. So there is not a research, ऐसा कोई research नहीं कि जो आपको बिना solution के आपका complete हो जाएगा. So there are certain problems. Maybe can say there are certain observations, and you have to make a can say document of that observation, and from that observation you have to find out some conclusion, and based on that conclusion you have to develop a theory. So that's what जनरलाइज रिसर्च बेसिक भी होगा तो भी चलेगा, बट आपको कुछ ना कुछ सोल्यूशन देना है, एंड दैट्स व्हाट द फर्स्ट मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ रिसर्च. Second one is research is scientific in nature. The research should be, can say, systematic and scientific. अगर ये scientific नहीं होगा, if it is not based on, can say, some theories, it is not based on some, can say, observations, it is not based on certain, can say, validated tools, then nobody will accept your research in the society, or the research will not have any foundation. So research should have, can say, a basic foundation, or can say fundamental tools that you want to use that should be validated. Any theory or any procedure, any methodology that you want to use that should be, can say, validated, scientifically proven, or socially accepted. So thus you can say research is always scientific in nature. And that's why this is one of the most important characteristics of the research is scientific in nature. Okay. So the research should be systematic. It is mandatory to a researcher to employ a structured procedure. You should have to have a structured procedure. It gives emphasis on the development of generalization, principles, and theories. So you have to follow all this, and then only you can have a, can say, idle research. Otherwise, your research will be not a scientific research. So any research should be a scientific research. So research in scientific nature. That's what second characteristic. Third one is research is based on observable and empirical experiences or empirical observations. What this research is based on observable and empirical experiences. Any research that suppose you want to come to a conclusion, आपको conclusion पे आना है, तो आपका conclusion is always based on what? Some observations. And if suppose you want to prove that this is the story, if you want to prove that this is the fact, people will ask you whether you have tested it with this particular theory, whether it's according to this theory, or is what against the theory, what you want to prove exactly. Or otherwise, everybody can say scientific research, or can say research for developing tool or technique, or maybe can say an instrument, then definitely people will what is the applicability of that, and whether it is based on that engineering principle, or based on, can say, scientific principle, a principle of, can say, evolution, principle of, can say, any, can say, whatever principles which are proved or, can say, applied till today, or any theory, any equation. So you should have, can say, that. So based on observable, anything जो ऑब्जर्वेशन आपको आएगा, that observation should be based on certain theories, or can say certain practical or experiment. That's what empirical experiences. So it is necessary to support your research work, your finding, or your, can say, conclusion with skillful observations and experimental research. आपके observations that should be skillful observation, critical observations, and at the same time it is supported by result data, or can say experimental data. Otherwise, your research is not a research. So research is based on observable and empirical, can say, experiences. This is third characteristic of research. The fourth one is research involves gathering new data from primary or first-hand sources, or using available data for new purpose. This is what, again, important. Research involves gathering new data from primary sources, what we call primary data, or the data which is already available in public domain is a secondary data. If you want to, can say for example, I'm working on particular experiment, I'm working on a particular problem, I'm designing experiment, whatever data I'll get, that's what my primary data. If I go in a field and observe certain things and note down the observations, that observations are my primary data. So this is first-hand information. So research is basically, it is involved in what? Gathering new data, or first-hand data, or can say primary data. Or otherwise, you can collect data from public domain, from published research work, published articles, books, whatever, can say, and published articles. So the data which is available, already available in the public domain, you can take the data and you can analyze it, and you can come to a new conclusion. If you want to go for certain other findings, say for example, I have developed one particular technique for one particular purpose. That is what my finding. So data is published in paper. So that's what my conclusion. Whatever tool that I've developed is applicable in this can say application. But somebody else will have something in mind, maybe some other thought in mind, can utilize same data and develop other theory or another theory based on that data, or maybe some other tool, or may have some other application of that tool in the market or in the society. So that's secondary, that's what secondary data. So you can have a primary data or a secondary data so as to can say come to a conclusion. And that's why I can say research involves gathering new data from primary sources or first-hand sources or using available data for new purpose. So research finding must be based on primary data. Basically, whatever research we are doing, entire data will be on primary, can say sources. But sometime in can say commerce and management, sometime in can say literature or can say in languages, you have to collect data from books. You have to collect data from some other sources. So as to what can say prove that what is there in the public domain and what that you have observed. So what is difference? What is correlation? So you have to find out correlation. So that's why you require sometimes secondary data. So this is what basically primary first-hand experience, our own observations, our planned experiments, or it must be based on theory of previous observation. That's what secondary data for rethinking or to reach to a new conclusion. Rethinking करना है, नया conclusion पे जाना है. So this is what basically another parameter or characteristics of research. Research involves gathering new data from primary or available data or secondary data. Then fifth characteristic is research is or can be reductive. That's another part. So if you think of research, so basically the finding of one researcher must be made available to another researcher. अगर मैंने काम किया है, so whatever data that I'm with you, whatever conclusion that I made out of data or results, that should be made available to the public or can say other researcher. नहीं तो क्या होगा? They'll again work on the same topic, same research, and spend their entire time on that research. There may be duplication of data, unnecessary wasting of time. So research is basically a reductive process, or is what it can be reductive. So finding of one researcher must be can say made available to the other researcher, as it prevents repetition of same research. Repetition अगर आपको रुकना है, and that's why review of literature is most important. If you go through review of literature and if data is published, it's made available in public domain, then definitely you can make use of that and you can avoid that part because it is delivered. Or you can rethink on that and it is available for rethinking also. You can rethink and make another theory, can say, make another can say tool out of that. So this what research can be a reductive process. It's another characteristics. So we can always think of that. Next, we can say character of research is basically research tool and results are to be valid, variable, or can say verifiable, and can say replicable. That should be replicable, or can say re-verify करना आपको करना है तो कर सकते हैं, and that should be valid. Any research, suppose I made a research in my college and I published it. And suppose somebody wants to can say do or can say repeat same experiment in some other station, some other area. So whatever tools that I used, whatever method that I used, whatever can say experiments that are designed, if suppose a person redesigns or can say designs the same experiment, so work on same experiment with same tool, he should get same results again. So that should be replicable, that should be valid, that should be verifiable. If you want to verify it again and again, you will get same and can say same result again and again. Then only can say result is what basically the true result that you obtained. Otherwise, there will be fabricated or can say manipulated results. And if somebody else is not getting the result, then the publication of your research paper or can say data is not validated. So you to validate it properly. So while writing research paper, you should keep in mind which method that you use, what were the laboratory conditions, or whatever they can say field condition, what was the book utilized, I can say used for that, what are the sources used. So everything you should give in this. So research tools and results are to be valid, are to be can say verifiable and replicable. That's what another parameter or characteristics of the research. The seventh one is the research is always generative. Next part, research क्या होता है? Generative होता है. When you find answer to one question, it will lead to generate many other new questions. अगर आपने एक क्वेश्चन को प्रॉब्लम को कोई सोल्यूशन दिया है, तो उस सोल्यूशन से और कुछ नए प्रॉब्लम्स क्रिएट हो सकते हैं और क्वेश्चंस क्रिएट हो सकते हैं. सो ऑलवेज there is a much scope for improvisation or improvement. So your research is always a generative research. And the eighth one is the research is action oriented. Findings of the research should always be aimed at solving the problem. Action oriented. आपने जो भी research publish किया है, whatever that you have published or you completed, whatever data available, the data can be used or may be used or can say must have some application in designing and developing tools or designing and developing theory. Okay, that should be have some can say social application or can say application in society or in industry. So if it is having industrial application, so you can develop tool out of that. Say for example, I can take example of Einstein and I think Edison. Somebody have can say I think out of these two, one has developed theories and another one has can say given the tools. Well, no? Theory that I think Einstein has given theories and all. So maybe in English literature, I can say languages, you can say likewise, you can have this. So you can develop theory or sometimes you can develop some tools and techniques out of this. So this is action oriented. Your research should be action oriented. But I think that's one of the most important parameter or characteristics of the research. Then research methods are always based on hypothesis. The repetition of based on research methods are always based on hypothesis. So you should find out the gap. You can make a statement based on the gap or the problem that you have, or problem that you can say located, or can say you can detected in particular can literature review. That's the problem, that's the gap that I want to solve. For example, suppose there is one situation that can just take another example. Some in particular or in some particular area, people are not buying certain products. Okay, what could be the reason for that? Or otherwise, maybe can say certain animals are living in a certain particular can say area, or maybe can say people are not can say having building height more than can say 20 feet in certain areas. So there are certain can say customs, can say belief systems. So is it true or it is false? That you want to find out. So for that you have to make a statement. What could be the reason? And you can find out that reason based on certain methods. So when you make a statement, to prove that statement, you have to have certain methods to prove that. For example, I am developing one tool where I can purify water. And for purification of water, I am using suppose nanomaterials. So if that nanomaterial is possible to can say reduce the heavy metals in the water, or can say kill the microbes in the water. So whether that particular entity will be responsible for killing the microbes or minimizing the metals. Microbes मारना रहे का metal कमी करना रहे. So that's what my statement. So I want to prove that. So for that I must have some method to whether the organisms are killed or not. उनको कैसे मैं टेस्ट करूँ? So for that I should have method. So always you can say your research methods are always based on hypothesis. To prove or disprove statement of hypothesis, we need to test it with valid methods, analyze with valid statistical tool. अगर इसको जो whatever result suppose I am getting, that result if it is can say significantly different or not. बरोबर ना? अगर मैंने बोला इसका हाइट इतना बड़ा है दूसरे का इतना बड़ा है, so there is what 1 centimeter difference. But if I am just checking the population and finding out deviation, if deviation is more than 1, then the difference is not statistically significant. So deviation should be less than 0.5 or more than can say 0.2, 0.3, but not more than 0.5. If there is what that difference, then definitely I can say these heights are significantly different. दो में फर्क है, otherwise difference नहीं है. So if you check entire population or can say entire can say samples, you'll find some difference, but that difference should be statistically significant. And for that you should have statistical methods. So everywhere hypothesis is needed, and you to test that hypothesis with valid methods. That's what another characteristic. The 10th one, the research follow an integrated multidisciplinary approach. So every problem have different solutions and different facets. One particular method is not suitable to solve the problem. So you should take the reference or guidance from other disciplines. और कोई भी social problem होगा, so it is related to economics, it is related to agriculture, it may be related to, can say, language, it may be related to custom. So there are different, can say, disciplines you have to, can say, approach them, or can say take guidance from different experts from different discipline to solve the issue. And that's what real research. So कोई भी problem ऐसा नहीं कि इसको एक ही discipline में आपको answer मिलेगा. There may be, can say, different disciplines you may consider, and that's why every research or most of the researchers, they are what, multidisciplinary. Then the 11th one is research is participatory work. Research एक का काम नहीं है. Because suppose you want to work on a particular topic, आपके पास time बहुत है, but you don't have a knowledge of computer, you don't have a knowledge of statistics, so you need to take help from statistician. आपने डेटा तो कलेक्ट किया है, बट आपको एनालिसिस में प्रॉब्लम है, बिकॉज यू आर नॉट हैविंग, कैन से, मैथमेटिकल बैकग्राउंड, स्टैटिस्टिक्स का बैकग्राउंड नहीं आपके पास, तो स्टैटिस्टिक्स का आपको हेल्प लेना पड़ेगा. और अदरवाइज इफ यू वांट टू कलेक्ट डेटा फॉर, कैन से, some different surveys, maybe it is a political or maybe it is social, so you have to take, can say, permission from different institutions, different government agencies. So research is basically participatory work, and you have to involve many people in that, starting from your family, your friends, your teacher, your guide, your supporter, all the stakeholders. So it involves all the parties concerned, from policymakers down to the community members at all the stages of the study. So this is basically one of the parameter, or can say characteristic of research. It is not the work done by alone. Research has many, can say, things, many facets, many parameters, where you have to take help from different sources, different people. It may include, can say, your colleague, your family member, to, can say, the policymakers or government, can say, personnel. So all these are, can say, required in research. Next is what research requires expertise and rigorous work, and it demands accurate observations and evidences. कोई भी research होगा, whatever research that you want to, can say, go for, it requires expertise. You have to have expertise for that particular thing. Otherwise, you have to take help from others. Just now we have seen, or you have to develop your own expertise in this. If I'm not good, can say, in observations, so I am to take help from some other else, because I am to go to the field, I am to observe that particular thing. So observation मुझे जरूरी है, और इसके लिए मेरा पास और मेरे पास expertise होना चाहिए. Rigorous work. It is not just to go and visit once. You have to visit again and again. You have to read it again and again. You have to test it again and again, so as to get same and same result. वही ऑब्जर्वेशन को बार बार मिलेगा, तो आप बोल सकते हो दिस इज व्हाट परफेक्ट ऑब्जर्वेशन, और कैन से परमानेंट ऑब्जर्वेशन, और दिस इज व्हाट द फैक्ट. And it demands accurate observation and evidences. Accurate observation. If I am wrong in observations, or can say noting wrong observation, I'll get wrong result and wrong conclusion. So evidences and observations should be, can say, accurate. So that's what one of the characteristic of research. Research is an attempt to find unbiased solution to the problem and take great pain. It takes what? Great pain to validate the method employed. आपको unbiased conclusion पे जाना है. You're not to go for, can say, type 1 error or type 2 error. जे मला माहिती आहे, I know that this is the wrong thing, but I am saying it is the right thing. Correct? And sometimes it is, I am knowing that is the right thing, but I'm उसको wrong बोल रहा हूँ. So this is what generally observed in many times in research. You know this is the fact, but unbiased हो जाते, नहीं bias हो जाते हम लोग. Unbiased रहना चाहिए आपको. So when you are recording your data, so आपका gut feeling क्या होगा, that is not important. आपका feelings क्या होगे, emotions क्या हो, that is not important. Thing is that what result that you are getting based on your observations and results. जो भी आपको data मिलेगा, that should be critically analyzed, critically observed, and you can come to a logical conclusion. Unbiasedness होना चाहिए. Otherwise, the data will be different and result will be different. Even you can say conclusion will be different. If somebody want to test and apply in, can say, in society or industry, he or she will not get proper results. So research findings are made on critical observations and conclusions in unbiased. That's what the same thing. Research is a deliberate and unhurried activity that is directional but often refines the problem or questions as the research progresses. Deliberate, unhurried. आपको उसको टाइम देना है, जल्दबाजी भी नहीं करनी है, और साथ साथ आपको ऑब्जर्वेशन करते रहना है. What basically it is what the solution given to the problem, but to find out a solution, to refine the problem or question, it takes time. So when research progresses, or can say you go on working, you'll get certain solution. पहले आपको solution कभी कभी साल साल 2 साल मिलता नहीं, कभी आपको आप stuck हो जाते हैं, but at the end you'll get solution when you go through entire process. Okay, sometimes it happens even at the writing up, can say writing stage, when our submission stage, we'll come to know, okay, this is the part that I missed, this is the observation I think this is important for this, but there is no time. But for research, you want to really make a good research, you should, can say, work thoroughly, take your own time, but you have to, can say, fit in a time frame. If you follow this particular, say, unhurried activity, it'll take more time to complete your thesis. Okay, so you have to make a time frame, you have to make a design that should be, can say, feasible, applicable, and workable. Otherwise your topic will be very lengthy, will be more expensive, and then finally आप इतना थक जाएंगे कि आप अपना रिसर्च छोड़ देंगे. So made it in, can say, ideal way, make it in ideal way, or otherwise whatever that you made, is it really good, you confirm it, make it suitable, simple, and, can say, thoroughly can work on that and find out good result and come to a logical conclusion. That's what I think the characteristic of research. And once you know all these facts about the research, or, can say, parameters of research or characteristics of research, then definitely you'll work on your research topic. So this is what about the today's session. I wanted to, can say, make the background of your, can say, coursework, and actually want to tell about what are the parameters or, can say, characteristics of the research. Once you know all this, definitely I know that you will work on your topic thoroughly, carefully, make good observation, or, can say, take ideal observations, then tabulate the data, and finally you can analyze data with statistical tool and come to a logical conclusion. So we wish you all the best for this, and definitely we'll have more sessions. This is what the basic session, it is not, can say, in the syllabus what exactly, but it is needed for every researcher, and that's why I thought this is important for us to know what are the characteristics of research. Once you understand these are the characteristics, then definitely will be unbiased and will come to a logical conclusion, and ideal research will be applicable for society and will be beneficial for the society. Thank you.